John DeSando.
Classics, let's go to the movies and share some popcorn, soda pop with our friends. Turn off our cell phones and get away. Night or day, it's John DeSando on the radio. We'll watch the credits from up high and low. Cinema classics on.
Cinema Classics is produced by John DeSando. It airs Thursdays at 8:01 p.m. on WCBE 90.5 FM. Listen to shows and read reviews online at wcbe.org.
I'm John DeSando.
And I'm G Kline.
And this is Cinema Classics. Now, Ken, I needed a special mind on this show because we're getting into that area that I call the dead zone.
Uh-oh.
And trying to find a good movie is a real search at this time of year.
February can be a challenge.
Oh, it is. So, very much like perhaps the search that goes on in the movie that we have here. There's a mystery about it, and it's called Argylle.
This is Argylle. Argylle has been a film that I've been watching now for about 2 years, waiting for this to go through production and come out. It was plagued with problems early on, originally in the casting especially. But what is Argylle? Argylle is a film about a middle-aged novelist of spy novels, sort of nerdy, kind of introverted, who gets kidnapped because her spy novels contain the key to an international terrorist organization's efforts to do terrible things. Now, if this sounds familiar, it's because we had a film 2 years ago called The Lost City with Sandra Bullock and Brad Pitt. That was very, very similar in story.
Very good, yes. And this one, Argylle, stars, how should you call it, Ken Howard's daughter.
Yes, yes.
Yes, otherwise known as, let's say, Bryce Dallas Howard.
Bryce Dallas Howard.
Oh, yeah.
We know her from the most recent Jurassic Park, or Jurassic World, I should say, movie.
Yeah. Listen, she has one of the most beautiful faces in film.
She has wonderful
And
flaming red hair and a very, very cute face. We also have, in a star-studded cast, Henry Cavill, Superman himself in this film.
I will tell you, go to this movie just as he is due. He has one
a mile-high haircut. Yes, yes.
It is real, and that kind of thing. I keep looking for where it's planted on his head, and I can't. They're so good. I just can't find it.
Henry Cavill plays Agent Argylle, the agent in our heroine's novels.
Yes.
And then on top of that, we have Sam Rockwell, who we know, of course, from his Academy Award performance in three Billboards
Yes.
a couple of years ago. Rockwell is an amazing actor. He is such a skilled actor. He can really do some amazing things with the role. He's just wonderful to watch.
And in watching this movie, I let myself go in the sense that sometimes this kind of a tricky premise really discombobulates me. And I could tell right at the beginning that if I just let myself relax so that I know who's real, who's her fantasy, who are her characters, who are the real spies, I would go crazy. Once doing that, I thoroughly enjoyed this movie.
Well, once our novelist heads out on a train, she gets kidnapped by Sam Rockwell's character to prevent her from falling into the wrong hands, and this begins a train ride of ups and downs and twists and curves and things that you never see coming that doesn't end really until the very last frames. Even some of it even continues into the credits.
And with that star-studded cast that you're talking about, we do have somebody who's peopling several movies.
Ariane DuBois
You got it.
is in this film.
Yeah.
She has a relatively small part.
Yeah.
Richard Senna is in this film also in a relatively small.
John
John Senna is in this film in a relatively small part.
But your
also.
Richard is the one I'm thinking of that I wanted way more of, and that was Richard E. Grant.
Yes.
Who is always good. And again, they have so many. that I'm kind of, just a little disappointed that I don't get to see them more. But that's both vice and virtue of the movie. I think that the movie may have a little bit too much all the way around.
Well, the film, again, the script is well written. It's got a lot of surprising turns. It keeps you guessing, but it is also a romance. And there's elements of the romance that just didn't work for me. Sam Rockwell, again, an amazing actor, but he has never been good as a romantic lead.
And I'll tell you that on that very point, it's the kind of romance that I like because it's not romantic. I love these relationships that kind of develop organically or are there in the past because they have other things to do now. And you are right. And one of the things I love about Rockwell is that he is not a traditional Hollywood leading man type.
Not at all. He can take on these complicated characters with a lot of baggage and pull them off brilliantly. But as a romantic lead, no, he is not good in that part.
I think this plot is so complicated that it is not worth our even trying to unravel.
No, and I would save the audience and tell you to go see the movie and sit back and enjoy the twists and turns of this film. It is a good film. It's a very enjoyable film. The acting is fantastic. The failing here is when they originally wanted to cast this movie and in 2021, the first two they went to was Pitt and Pugh. This was originally supposed to be a Brad Pitt, Florence Pugh film. And Apple famously offered Brad Pitt $40 million to do this film.
Is that the truth?
And it is the truth. And they offered Florence Pugh, I believe, $25 million to do the role.
Ken, this is getting out of control.
And they turned it down. Pitt turned it down because he felt the script was too similar to The Lost City that he had just done with Sandra Bullock. Pugh turned it down. I'm not real sure why.
She's so quirky. I love her.
Yeah, but so Apple went through not just their A list, but their B list and their C list. They approached Mark Ruffalo. He turned it down, and so on and so forth until finally they got Sam Rockwell to do it. This is Apple's third big film. Their first film that was Killers of the Flower Moon, $200 million epic with Martin Scorsese.
So we're likely to see this streaming.
We're very likely to see. We're going to see this streaming because it's not making its money back.
I'll tell you, it's so worth seeing in a theater because it's very colorful.
It is.
It's very, everybody's handsome and the sets are delightful. And so it's one of those movies where you sit back, don't expect too much, and you're going to get much more than you expected.
Yeah. Well, this is our director who's been directing the Kingsman series.
Matthew Vaughn.
Yes, Matthew Vaughn. And the Kingsman series has been a good, solid action-adventure series. He's known for R-rated action with lots of violence and lots of CGI. And he does that here, but on a more PG-13 level.
Yeah, and I thought the CGI here was a little bit cheesy.
It was a little bit cheesy, yeah.
And I don't know whether that's purposeful or not.
Well, part of it is because we're supposed to be seeing the cheesiness of her spy novels, but part of it is also the failing of CGI to ever live up. And this is why Tom Cruise does everything live action for Mission Impossible films. But the other element here was this was direct. Oh gosh,
What do you think of?
Well, it was no, that's my mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. But I'd like to say that I think I'm right that Matthew Vaughn also directed Layer Cake.
He did. He did.
Which is a quirky, great little movie.
And where this movie steps apart from The Kingsman is this movie, I think, is much more geared for a female audience.
All right.
I think if you're a female fan of action films and you want to see Henry Cavill looking really good and Sam Rockwell looking good, and seeing it through the eyes of this very, very cute actress who is not in any way intimidating, this is a really good film to go see.
And we can talk more in our podcast, which is Double Take, and you'll have to go to WCBE podcast experience to get it, and you'll hear more about this from us. I would like to say there's something about the creation of the novel in this. Underneath all of the silliness, her struggle to come to terms with her characters and her craft is very interesting if you look, if you're willing to get away from the silliness and look at it as a treatise on the difficulties of writing anything.
And that's just one of about 20 different elements in this movie.
Yes, all right.
So yeah, great date night film. Stay through the credits. There's a very, very interesting little scene that's.
And I think I didn't.
Oh,
I think.
there's a nod to the Kingsman during the credits.
Okay, all right, I may have. All right, so the film is, starring Bryce Dallas Howard, is called
Argylle.
I'm John DeSando.
Cinema, 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 cinema. Classics, let's go to the movies.